As you can see, we have a few people with us today, so I'm just going to do quick intros to them. So first, welcome to our webinar about eliminating alert overload and how to achieve true cloud risk. I really just have a couple slides because the majority of this webinar is going to be a conversation. So we have a really great panel today. So before we move on and introduce our panelists, I do want to encourage you to ask questions. So you can I'll be checking the Q&A and the chat. So if there are any questions, please let us know. We absolutely want to take them. So introducing our speakers. So we're going to start with Amit Levran. He is a customer of Skyhawk Security and is the head of security at SundaySky. He has more than 25 years of technical experience, whether hands-on or as a manager. He is responsible for the security of SundaySky, which is a video platform that enables their customers to deliver personalized video experiences at scale. And protecting his platform not only protects SundaySky, but protects the brand of the customers that they service. So welcome, Amit.
You're happy to be here.
Thank you. We also have Rob Strechay. He's a principal at Smudget Consulting. He's an analyst with experience in product, engineering, marketing, sales, and operations. With his more than 30 years of leadership experience across these disciplines, he now advises the C-suite. And when he's not consulting on the next big thing, you'll find him on theCUBE. So thank you, Rob, for joining us.
Excited to be here.
Great. And then Burshan, who has over 25 years of leadership experience, and he is currently the CEO of Skyhawk Security. He's helped transform Skyhawk Security to a preemptive security solution that goes beyond observation and provides the adversarial view of your cloud architecture and security controls. Chen holds more than 50 patents in the space and several that relate to this recent transformation. So Chen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jennifer, for having me, and thank you, Amit and Rob, for joining us today.
Okay. So myself, my name is Jennifer Gill. I'm VP of Marketing at Skyhawk Security. I have over 25 years of leadership experience, marketing technology and security products, and I've been in leadership roles for more than 15 years. So now that you know our speakers, I'm actually going to stop sharing our screen so you can kind of see our faces a little bit better as we jump into the conversation. And I am going to pitch it over to Rob first. So Rob, can you give us kind of an overview of struggles in cloud security that people are seeing today?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start because I think the actual entire field where you have to maintain security is rapidly changing with the fact that you have so many new vectors and areas that you have to protect with AI really coming into the play. Not only is AI enabling individuals to go faster at attacking and find vulnerabilities faster and be able to scheme up things, but it's also, when you're building out AI, it's a complex system that has become very highly sought after by those bad actors. And with like 77% of enterprises really only having adopted, DevSecOps as a practice, I don't know what those other 23% are doing. But when you look at it, that's a scary thing. When you look at this, has to become, delivery of code has become a higher velocity, and security has to be integrated into it and not actually a blocker. 70% of security issues originate in that code stage, and only 29% of developers run security scans locally. The security risks begins at the keyboard, as we like to say. And what you also look at is that open source dependencies, especially with AI, and as you're deploying a lot more open source, those open source dependencies make up 75% plus of modern code bases. So I would say that when you look at the entire, field and where you have to go and secure yourself and secure your company, it is immensely tougher than it's been ever. And as that goes through, really, you got to look at how do I overcome this and not be that blocker.
Great. And Chen, I know you speak with a lot of prospects and customers. Are you hearing something similar?
Yeah, I think that very much as Rob said, we see AI as a major driving factor of concerns. There are two ways that AI becomes a concern for today's CISOs. One is obviously protecting the AI workloads themselves. And the other is the AI risk that is introduced to environments. When we started Skyhawk's journey more than 3 years ago, part of the ideas was that we thought that we were going to see many more AI-based attacks against environments. Back then, for many people, it seemed a little bit science fiction. Today, we already see examples. CJ Moses from AWS just published one on FortiGate, and there are other examples where adversaries with very little skills and experience were able to attack large-scale deployments using AI and AI-crafted attacks. So what we thought is going to be the risk is actually materializing right now. And our idea back then was to protect against AI attacks with AI-driven adversary view protection. And that's exactly what we're hearing from customers today, that they are concerned with that, and that they have an overload of what I will call findings from their traditional cloud security tools, where they don't feel that they need more alerts. They need to be able to make sense of these alerts and understand which ones to handle first. And that's exactly what we're hearing, kind of left of the boom during the time they need to reduce exposure. They need to know which risks are actually weaponized and risking their environment and handle those first. And after an attack happens, they need to understand which real-time alerts are true positive and how to handle them and have the SOC trained. And that's kind of the other problem. And all of that can be pre-trained, pre-simulated, so that the right focus goes to the right places, and that's exactly what we do with our platform. So that's exactly what we're hearing from customers.
Great. And Amit, does this align with what you're seeing today and what you hear when you speak with other CISOs?
Yeah, I definitely align on what Rob and Chen shared. I think that from a field perspective, what security teams are struggling with are a few things. The first one is mapping your environment, and Chen referred to it as left of the boom, right? Before the boom, or left of the boom. I like to think left to right. And I like to use an analogy of protecting your house, right? First thing you need to know where an attack can happen from. You have the doors, you have the windows. I'm sure that if I take everyone on this call, there's at least one person where the garage door code is 0000. So you need to figure out where all those things are going to come from. So mapping your external exposure points and understanding where the vulnerabilities are in those components is key. Then after you map the vulnerabilities, how do you prioritize what you address? I'm sure that every person that ever used some type of a CNAP opened the dashboard for the first time and said, "Oh my God, I have 10,000 vulnerabilities. I have 100,000 vulnerabilities. What do I do now?" If someone saw less than that, wow. And I was there. I was looking at the crazy number and saying, "Okay, what now?" So now you have this huge list, and there's a severity assigned to each one, but does the severity really matter, or does the exposure matter? If it's a high severity and it can't be weaponized against you, where do you prioritize it? If you have an EC2 machine with a critical vulnerability and another one has a medium vulnerability but has access to sensitive data, how do you start even when everything is in the thousands? How do you even begin to work through it. So that's challenge number one. That's on the left side. And on the right side, you need to start securing all your valuables. Again, using the house analogy, right? That's crown jewels. I need to say, I can say, oh, I have zero vulnerabilities. I have Wiz shows or whatever CNAP you're using says I have zero critical vulnerabilities. That's great, but maybe I have a medium vulnerability out there that gives access to all of my data, and someone can weaponize it against me. And today, with we talked about AI, weaponizing something against you works a lot faster in the AI age because you don't need a person to sit and try things, and that their capacity is no longer limited by the number of fingers that they have. So one of the things you need to make sure is that your crown jewels are safe or that there's nothing to find. So figuring out how to secure all of your information so that at first glance it looks like there's nothing there, is very important. And the last thing is making sure that you have an alarm system in your house. And not just one of those simple ones from 15 years ago that ADT put there. It's something with night vision and something with motion sensors and something that can really alert you when it identifies something out of the ordinary. And if your defenses failed, something needs to let you know quickly and accurately what happened, and it needs to make you aware not only what happened, but also where do you need to go in order to fix it. So those are kind of the three things that are key, and that's what security teams are working on. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, I just to add on top of that, I think that when you look at all of this, it's also becoming even more complex from a perspective that, you know, accountability is a big thing now, and regulatory things are popping up. You have the EU Cyber Resiliency Act, you have AI governance regulations that are a mishmash all over the place, and this is tightening up and
Yeah.
actually putting teeth behind that. So, you know, again, I give you a lot of credit because there's a lot you have to take care of, to put it mildly.
Yeah, and you're right about the regulatory aspects, whether you're a regulated entity or regulated, you have customers that are regulated entities. It's a big deal. And the other thing is you keep thinking, okay, if I add another security tool, it's going to help me. If I add just this thing and I add just this thing. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be an AI tool and it's not going to be a security vulnerability that may create something or causes an incident. It's going to be one person doing one thing that is slightly wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have the numbers, Rob, but this is the number one cause for security breaches is human error.
Yeah, 80%
Yeah.
of customers that were organizations we've talked to have experienced at least one cloud security incident, and a lot of that has to do with just being wrong about something, a
Mm.
misconfiguration, a push of code, or what have you. And again, it's not easy because you have to be right all the time. They only
Yeah,
have to be, right once. I mean, that's
exactly.
and they're looking at that entire estate and saying, "Hey, where can I go in?" And, again, 61% of organizations have real-time security policy checks, but, when you start to look at it, it's there's 39% who don't. And I don't understand how, at this point where we're all targets, how this is becoming really, just it has to be table stakes. And it sounds like it is for you, which is great. So,
We try. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, Rob, you talked about the skill sets of security. So, how has cloud security required teams to evolve their approach within the frameworks?
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is that, 3 years ago, we were all talking about S-bombs and they were going to save the world and, understanding software supply chain and being able to, look at it ahead of time. But I think that's definitely become table stakes, having SBOMs and things of that nature. And as Amit talked about, understanding your entire playing field. So not just the software aspects of it, but where are you deployed, those EC2 instances, functions or lambdas, and how are they open, or how are they, touched. Then you have the network access, who can get in, who can't. And with a lot of these different complexities and a different language with each of these different clouds, be it, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, OCI with Oracle, and, you start to look out if you're outside the country, OVH and Orange and Singtel and, Alibaba and all of those. So when you start to look at all of the different things that have to go right and that you have to understand, it's just unknowable. There is just completely overwhelming. And I think that leads to a whole lot of exactly what Amit was talking about, which was, is this important or not? And how do I know it's important or not to fix, especially when you may not be as familiar? And again, a lot of folks don't have the luxury of having a dedicated cloud team to each of their clouds that they have. I mean, that's just everybody's in a multi-cloud world. I don't know very many organizations that are not in a multi-cloud world, and that gives different attack vectors to these folks to go after. And they're always going to be able to find your weakest point. I mean, it's just gonna happen. So being able to understand what's important and what's not important is super important when all of this flood of information is coming at you. And you're sitting there going, okay, I not only need to know the severity, but I need to know in context with where it's happening. And the skill sets, you just can't find the skill sets to understand this. One is finding it. Two is being able to, have budget to go and hire it. With AI sucking the air out of budgets, left and right, with, we're seeing 30% of budgets going to AI. And, I don't see a ton of it going to AI security. Maybe there's a little bit in there, and that's in the people who are enlightened. But, again, this problem is just going to get exponentially worse as we go through.
Completely with you and feeling the pain of the budget going to AI and not to AI security. So I'll add just one more thing. You talked about multi-cloud. I don't think that you even need to be multi-cloud. You could be on AWS and have multiple accounts on AWS, and you have a development account and you have a production account, but your development account can assume a role on the production account, and that's it. The fact that you have two environment doesn't matter anymore. So it's those small things that you need to make sure that you cover and you think about. And like I said, with AI, from my perspective in the field, the challenge is that it's a lot faster to exploit things now. And the exploitation became a lot quicker, and the reconnaissance is a lot quicker. So if you make a mistake, if you take a risk, if you spend your money or your time in the wrong place, it will cost you.
Yeah, I mean, I love that because I think to your point, I mean, again, if I go in and I inject something into, say, a system of record or something of that nature in a lower dev or test environment, and it makes its way through into the production environment, I now have the production environment.
Right.
And I think that to me is the scariest thing for all of these AI systems is, you know, again, how often if you're doing a RAG, how often are you going through and actually scanning through all of those documents until it becomes a problem? And understanding that that could cause something, malicious code being in there that somebody knows how to then go to your AI and invoke, which is, I mean, talk about freaky stuff. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
out there.
Yes.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. So Amit, before Skyhawk, what was your most significant challenge or challenges? Like what made you bring Skyhawk on?
Um, so I think it's two things. The first one was we didn't really have any real-time monitoring and real-time alerting systems that allows us to identify not just that an event happened, but what Skyhawk gives us in addition to that is that something happened that's out of the ordinary. Because something can happen, where I can see that Rob accessed something in the system, and Rob is a user, Rob has the permissions, and Rob took the action. So logically, if you try to rationalize it, it's okay. They didn't Rob didn't try to do something that he's not allowed to do. But Rob did it from Hong Kong. And I know that Rob lives in Boston, so something's weird here. Okay, nothing in the system told me that before I had Skyhawk. Nothing told me that, hey, you have this set of actions, not just one action, where a user invoked an assume role action 50 times in 3 minutes. And that's something a human being can't do. So there's something automated here. Is it my automation? Is it someone else's automation? So looking at the events in my cloud from a perspective of not only did someone try to hack me, but did something happen here that doesn't fit the day-to-day pattern of my cloud usage? And should that raise a flag, yes or no? I think that was the reason that we started with Skyhawk. And that was the thing that we were missing. What Skyhawk added later on was the ability to take our vulnerabilities that we get from our CNAP and prioritize them based not only just on the severity, but also the ability to understand which ones are exploitable and which ones are weaponizable. So I mentioned earlier the 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures of vulnerabilities. How do I find the five that are important? How do I find the three that I'm working on today, the 20 that I'm working on this week, and the 100 that I'm working on this month? And that's the most important thing on the left side of identifying where the risk is, not where the vulnerabilities are, where the risk is. And that's the big difference between what Skyhawk gives and what other tools are giving me.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. So you mentioned 6 and 7 figures. Someone came up to us at reInvent and they had 8 figures of alerts in their CNAP.
Wow.
And they had just installed it and they didn't know where to start. And they were feeling really overwhelmed. And so we were like, we can help you. We can help you find
Yeah.
now I don't know how to like we talk about getting 500,000 down to 7. I don't know if we get 16 million down to 7. But it would be way less than 16 million.
And that's alerts. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we heard from Amit, like all the good things about Skyhawk while I implemented. Why don't you give us a quick overview of Skyhawk for everyone that's here today?
So Skyhawk, as Amit said, described it very nicely. We started from observability and real-time detection, and moved into the red teaming cloud, red teaming simulation. Uh, uh, we were serving customers, large customers already with our threat detection. And as Amit mentioned, it's not just alerting on a single suspicious behavior or anomalous behavior. We're looking for malicious intent across multiple alerts and reducing them into one with reason, right? That was the big capability. But with that, we felt that the detection piece is always reactive, and it doesn't matter which SIEM you're using or threat detection you're using, it's always reactive. And we felt that we need to train the SOC basically on what they're going to see when something happened. The idea was then that we really added these AI-based red teaming to train the SOC and the threat detection in a way that is specific to the customer. As we added that, part of the functionality we found was that more and more customers, and that was the second part that Amit described, were using the module independently to optimize their synapse. And we saw repetitive cases of customers that are reducing their synapse or vulnerability scanner noise by 99% and above as a consistent feedback across multiple synapse, whether it's the cloud native tools or third-party system. It's a consistent analytics layer that is used on top of the various services that are out there. And our main value today is that we're basically bringing this adversarial view of the environment, not just graph analysis, because the graph analysis is, as Amit said, it can give you these 6 figures, 7 figures of alerts of things that are potentially misconfigured, but does it really poses an actual risk in the context of my environment? Is it really weaponizable? And with that type of continuous adversary analysis on the environment, we're able to reduce to a few. Again, we're doing something around 99% noise reduction consistently across customers. And that became the left of the boom optimization that we're able to do, which helps customer not just avoid the waste of time between security and DevOps, and it helps them actually improve or minimize the exposure surface before they waste time on benign false positives. Right? They focus on the right things first, and therefore they are more active in reducing the risk. And on the flip side of it, because they use the simulation, they know exactly which compensating controls they have in place, what they're supposed to see when an event happens. They can identify gaps ahead of time. All that simulation helps them get prepared with the ability to pre-label real-time alerts before they happen as true positives, so that when the SOC receives them, they already know that it's a true positive and what is the playbook to run. And this, again, left of the boom functionality is driving a lot of attention from our customers, and uh, uh, complemented with the threat detection right of the boom ability to not just reduce risk, but actually respond to it when it happens is extremely effective. And that's where we focus today at Skyhawk. And again, at the end of it, there is the philosophy of the threat landscape changes to be driven by AI, and therefore, in order to be ready to protect against it, you need to use AI. That's what we're doing. We're using adversary-based view that was built with AI to prepare our customers against that risk. And in great success and great feedback from customers on what we're able to achieve for them.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that one point is clear that Chen mentioned. So we talked about the intelligent simulation. So we actually use digital twin technology. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but that basically we make a copy of your environment using AI, but we do that within our SaaS platform. So there's nothing disruptive to your environment. I remember speaking to a prospect and they're like, whoa, 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 I'm going to have 1 million alerts. I said, no, 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 this isn't in production. This is all on our side. There's no impact to you. And that's a really key benefit. Okay, so kind of winding down here, we're about 30 minutes. We did have a couple questions, but before we move on to the 2 questions, I mean, I can actually answer both of them. So that's, and that means that I did not do a good job prepping, but the audience in terms of the platforms we support and things like that, but no problem. So I'm going to do one more question for Rob, and then we'll close with Amit. So kind of before I do that, do you have any last thoughts?
No, go ahead with
Okay.
Robin.
Okay, so Rob, with you, what are the industry best practices? Like if you could, what's one thing you would recommend to everybody today, especially in the age of threat actors using AI?
Well, when you ask an analyst one thing and then they give you five, right? So that's
Perfect.
what I'm going to do. So I would say, at a high level, and this is stuff that Meet has talked about, and Ken has talked about, you've talked about, and a lot of people are talking about, but security needs to be embedded, not bolted on. That's number one. I think going forward, it needs to get budget. It needs to be part of the planning process. It needs to be, embedded in there, especially as we go towards AI. Automation has to replace manual review. I think, again, there's no way you can go through and understand all the unknowables about that. Like Hen said, graph is great, but if it gives you 6 million, alerts, that is unknowable. So you have to have automation to really understand that. That policy that are being put in place needs to shift from documentation to code and really needs to be easy and implementable. Supply chain transparency really has to become mandatory. You need to understand what the entire attack vectors are within there and what your estate is vulnerable to, and not just on the software side, but on the cloud side as well, and even in the hardware side as you get into on-prem with AI. And runtime protection really has to become continuous and behavioral. It can't be to Amit's problem of me being in Hong Kong or not being in Hong Kong and doing something with privilege that I have and doing privilege escalation and somewhere into doing something that really needs to be behavioral. And I think that is where, Hen talking about the AI and things in the background really comes to bear. So, those are the five, embedded, automated, policy to code, supply chain transparency, and really runtime protection that's continuous and behavioral. So that's it.
Nice. Great wrap up. And so, Amit, final thoughts on in summary, what are the thoughts you want to leave with everyone today around cloud security?
So I think the first one is no matter how kind of I learned it from my dog, no matter how fast you run, you will never run faster than the car.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how much time and effort you put into it, you will never be able to close all the vulnerabilities. So focus on the ones that are important. You guys mentioned 99%, 98%, 99% reduction. I'm at 0.3%. So the number of alerts I'm seeing in Skyhawk that are actually validated and weaponizable is 0.3% of the number of alerts I'm seeing in my CNAP. So that's an amazing tool for focusing and being able to, work on what's important. So that's one thing. And the second one, cyber is always cat and mouse. And like I said, Skyhawk is my alarm system. If something goes wrong, you need to know about it when it goes wrong and not when the data is already on the dark web. So having a solid alarm system, having something that monitors your environment in real time and lets you know when something happens, that's super important. That's critical. You can have a 24 by 7 SOC, but the 24 by 7 SOC usually works based on predefined rules. Right? I mean, you tell them what to monitor. So if something is out of that framework, it's not going to be, it's not going to trigger anything. So have a good alarm system, and have something to monitor you when something's out of the ordinary. So those are my two recommendations.
Awesome. Okay, great.
And
So
and
go
and
ahead.
again, I want to emphasize what Amit said, which is really amazing. That we are saying 99%, but in actually we're able to get him focused not on 1%, but actually on 0.3%. It's 99.97% noise reduction. That's an amazing
99 point, yeah.
achievement.
Yeah.
And thank you
No,
very much for doing that.
99.7 is
99.7, yeah.
fantastic. It's amazing. Okay, so we touched on this a little bit, and this is probably my fault for not introducing the platform appropriately. So someone said, what are the platforms that we support? So we do support all three clouds. So AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. So, and we do have customers using it across all three. Amit made the good point that even if you have one cloud, but you have all these different environments, that sort of acts the same way. So keep that in mind. But yeah, we support the three major clouds. And then the pricing model is super simple. It's just by protected cloud asset. So, but we do have some consolidation. For example, Lambda isn't one cloud asset, 50 Lambda is one cloud asset. So we try to be flexible there. So those are the only couple questions that I have. I hope that you all learned a lot today from the webinar. I do want to point you to our website, which is skyhawk.security. Chen mentioned that AI is being used in real time. We have a blog post up there where Anthropic confirmed that AI was used for an attack with very little human intervention, executed an entire attack. Those are the types of things that we're able to stop. So make sure you keep that in mind. And then intelligence simulation is the key driver of our technology. We have information there on that as well. So Amit, Rob, Chen, thank you for joining me today. A great conversation, went really well. So, and we hope to see you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Rob, for joining, and always pleasure.
Always fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good day.